Welcome, everyone. It's Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, back with another Immigration Live Q&A. Make sure, as always, that when you're jumping in, you leave a comment with where you're listening in from, like this fine Facebook user here from India. Good to see you. Jagnor, good to see you as well. And yeah, it's been a little bit snowy lately, the last week. And I know yesterday I went for a little stroll down to my favorite place, which is Cottonwood Park, with a good friend. And it was nice to get out and just trudge through the snow and feel the cool winter brisk air. And it was kind of neat as we were walking down into the coulee. And if you can Google, you can go to Google Maps and you can look up Cottonwood Park and you can see it's not too far from where I live, and it's in a river valley. The river is the Old Man River. And when we were walking down, my friend Steve and I, we saw ahead of us, further down the ravine, this coyote chasing these deer down from the banks of the coulee. And yeah, it's quite fun. My favorite thing is to go down there right after there's been a fresh snowfall, and then find tracks and just follow them and just see what happened. A couple years back, the tracks led to this massive, it was like a war zone. Like there were blood and guts everywhere because there was this deer that had been killed and fed on by coyotes. And I know I'm grossing you guys out, but whatever. And there were these tracks all over the place, and I couldn't figure it out because the snow had only fallen probably 4 hours earlier. And there was all of these tracks everywhere, and I couldn't figure out how this whole deer was devoured. And there was hardly anything, but I saw the cape, essentially the deer's, the skin and stuff was there, but everything had been picked clean. And I was like, wow, do coyotes really eat everything? And then I looked up on this branch where the snow had piled up. If you live in snowy places, if after a fresh snow, the snow was softly piled in mounds on all the branches and everything. And I saw this log, and I looked and I saw this little piece of deer. And then I saw these two little marks on both sides of it. And then I realized it was the birds. It was the magpies who had done the job of cleaning up everything. So that's the circle of life. I know not something that you typically have Mark talking about at the beginning of a Immigration Live Q&A, but hey, this is what I love to do. So that nature preserve is just a wonderful place. And like I said, you can Google map it and, or Google Earth it and just see what it's like, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful area. So yes, tune in where you're listening from. We'll do some shout outs, and then I have a special guest that's joining me in just a little bit, and I will pull her on. Okay, so we've got Gina is over in Vancouver. Ben, it's good to see you. We've got Joe over in Arizona. Welcome, Joe. Thanks for connecting in. We've got Bushan. I'm doing very, very well, Bushan. As long as I can slip out and go for walks, yeah, that's my happy place. Sean over in Turkey, doing great, Sean. Thanks for tuning in. Those who are posting their questions, hold off for now, and I'll give you the green light when you can connect in. Oh, look at this. Okay, I've got to find the right appropriate response for this one right here. Look at that. It's so hilarious. Bruston, congratulations on your basketball win. I think you guys trounced LCI, if I'm not mistaken, just the other day, my daughter's high school. But Bruston and his basketball team pretty much destroyed Lethbridge Collegiate Institute. So it's the small town versus the big city. So congratulations, my nephew, Bruston. Apparently everybody watches this. So there you go, buddy. Big shout out to you. Congratulations. All right. We've got Mariana, who's over in Toronto. Thanks for tuning in. And that's a good segue to our guest right here. Welcome, Chanel. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Over in snowy Toronto. There's a snowstorm outside at the moment. So I've had to close all the curtains because the glare is so bright coming in through the window.
Yes, 'tis the season. So Mariana, we've got Chanel who's joined us. And those of you who don't know Chanel is the newest immigration lawyer to join our team. and she agreed to come on so that you guys wouldn't have to just listen to me chirping on. And she's going to talk a little bit about a blog post that she has recently written that you guys are going to see up on our website today. And we're also going to do a separate immigration live session where we talk about the topic that she has written on, which is a very interesting one. So hang tight, and we will address that. And then Chanel will join us for a little bit, and then she may or may not drop off depending upon how things are going. I know she's got a bunch of stuff that I've kept her busy with, so we'll see how that plays out. Okay, let's see who else we have here. We've got Kartik, originally from India, but soon to be in Canada, Toronto. Yes, indeed. And,
good choice.
And I can't help but just showing everybody this. It just makes me laugh so much. I'm going to adjust this, and I'm going to enlarge this. And I don't know, Kartik, if this is what you're planning on bringing here. Okay, look at that. Look at the size. Is that your bag, Kartik, or that's luggage, right? Like, that's where it's at. I don't think that would fit as a carry-on, but that was so funny. I love that. Okay, so we'll stretch that one back out. There we go. Okay, let's see who else we've got here. So if you have questions, hold off. We'll just give shout outs for the people that are tuning in and watching today. So Jagnor from Richmond. We've got Jama, who's over in South Africa. Welcome, Jama. Olu is over in Victoria. Great to have you connecting. We've got more Indian connection here. That's great, Solanki. We have, wow, when we're doing this, it's about, what is it, 10:30, 10:40, I think, p.m. In India right now. So I've been trying to find a time period that kind of works for most people. So hopefully this works. We've got Amit, Virginia, and Thesura, as always. Welcome, Thesura, a past alumnus, as always, of the Express Entry DIY course, which we're doing right now. And I have a fantastic group. We've got a small group that's going through, but boy, they're fantastic. We're having so much fun this week in the Express Entry DIY course and masterclass. So yeah, big shout out to all those people that are attending that. Yun Chen from Edmonton, excellent. The home of our lawyer, Susan Wood, who's up in Edmonton, and where I will be taking my family as well, Yun Chen, to the West Edmonton Mall. And we're going to be staying in the Fantasyland Hotel for Christmas for a couple days, and that should be lots of fun. Okay. Kartik says, no question, still here for the info and knowledge. Hope to be immigration lawyer in the future. That would be great. That would be great. Okay, let's see who else do we have here. Nessa, who's also an alumnus, a graduate of the Canadian Immigration Institute. Thanks for saying hello, Nessa. It's good to see you. Mohammed's over in India. Let's see who else we have. Oh, no way, Ariel. Iqaluit Nunavut. Oh, that is so cool. All right, you guys are going to have to Google Earth that and check out where Ariel is from. That is so cool, Ariel. I don't think I've ever had anyone connect in from Nunavut. That is so cool. Northern. Now, what you have to post, Ariel, what the temperature is right now up there. I think the temperature should be probably dropping quite a bit, but how cold do you expect it to get this year? That would be kind of fun to hear. Lima, Peru. Excellent. Alva, it's great to have you connecting in. We've got Jeevan over in Qatar, and fantastic. Let's see here who else we've got. And those who are asking questions, hold off on those questions. That's why I'm skipping past you. And then you can repost them once we get through all of the shout outs, because this is one of my favorite parts of the whole live Q&A, is giving shouts out to all of the people that are watching from all over the world, which is so, so neat. So Ada, good to have you connecting from Qatar. We've got Anurag, who's in New Jersey, another US viewer. Great to have you here. Let's see here. Who else do we have? We've got Pato. He's from Alberta. Okay, that's great. Eric's over in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Getting chilly here. I'm curious what chilly is over in Saudi Arabia. Is it like, what, 25 degrees Celsius or something? Is that your chilly? For us, chilly is probably past minus 30. If it's 30 below, that's kind of cold here. Val, hola, como está? From Brazil, good to see you. And we've got Zoha is also from India. Zeke is in BC. And Nessa says a hello there to Chanel. So very good. You guys have to also send nice greetings to Chanel too. Okay. And Mamadou's over in Ottawa. And yeah, Olu's also there. Now we're getting some good shout outs for Chanel. That's great.
I'm glad to be here.
And then we've got Wanjiku is in Nairobi. Gagan Singh is also in India. And Uvesh is over in Hamilton. Naeem is in Toronto. Nav is over in Mauritius, which is very cool. Hello to you, Susan, or Suzanne Amir. And Claudia is in Jamaica. So hopefully the temperature, it's starting to get a little warmer down there, I think. My son is in Chile, which is the other end of the world. And they're just starting to get into the summer season right now. JB's from India. And we have Omar is over in Kenya. Thanks for connecting in. 8:30 p.m. Yeah, so it's not quite as late as India. Let's see who else. We've got Ahmed is over in St. John, New Brunswick. Gagan's in the Punjab. Hello to you, Ali. And Kartik. Okay, this is awesome. He said, if I bring this bag, I know for sure CBSA will stop me for hours at Pearson. Oh, yeah, they will. They'll be wondering what the heck you're doing, my friend. Ali's over in Dubai. Kelowna, Roshan, good to have you. Longtime viewer. Yes, you are. Big shout out to you. And then Gagan is also from India. We've got Hasib, who's in Pakistan. Zoha loves your lives. Love from Mumbai, India. Kumai, hello to you. Vanessa's down in Texas. That is great. Oh, Kartik says the Chanel accent is just awesome. So some love to her, guys. There you go.
Oh, thanks, Kartik.
And Ransford and Manav is in India. And Gagan also, hello to you. And George, welcome back. Hang in there, my friend. I know you're anxiously waiting. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, what is this? What is this? I told you, George. I told you. Oh, I am so happy for George. So George is also an alumnus of the Express Entry course. And he says, guess what? I received the first golden email yesterday. So George has been anguishing over the last weeks and months. He's the last individual in the cohort that he attended earlier this spring, kind of summer, of the Express Entry course. And George is just exceptional. And he's been waiting patiently and wondering what's going on and why is it going so slow. And I could tell the agitation and the frustration in George's comments. And so this one, oh yeah, big time celebration. In fact, I'm going to give you another round of applause because we are super, super happy for you. So, wow, that is so fantastic. Wow. Yes. I had another, some of you might remember, Masi, you might remember we had Emeka, who is, I used to have his testimonial that he did, a video testimonial on the course before I started just pulling in all of the many people that actually just took the course. I used Emeka as one of the original video testimonials for the old course before I did the master's classes. And he was from Nigeria, and he was stuck in one of those cohorts that had Copers where he couldn't travel and they were expired. And he would always come on just like George and say, oh, this is so frustrating. I haven't heard anything. Have you heard anything, Mark? Is things moving forward? And it was such a huge celebration for him when he finally was able to come, because he was the last of the people that had given a video testimonial to me to become permanent residents. So this is the journey. Chanel, this is what you have to look forward to, is seeing this, all these amazing people come through. So yeah, super awesome. Okay, Cream Buddy, that's hilarious. You'll never know how helpful your channel has been for me during my move to Canada. Max from New Zealand. That is awesome. Thanks, Max. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Yes, and there's lots of lock-ins. There are lots of people like this, disgruntled FSW applicants. You guys have taken a real beating. You guys are the ones within the Express Entry process that have suffered the most. And my heart goes out to you guys. Jim, good to have you from Nigeria. And I love this. Congratulations from one another. Everybody's congratulating George. He says, "Thank you, Mark. Thanks for everything, Mark. Again, the course was great." Yes, it's great because of people like you. That's what makes it so awesome. And there's the sir, and I think the sir, were you and George? I think you guys both were in the same group, and it's so awesome to have you guys back. And I don't understand, what does elbow cough mean, Chanel? Do you understand that lingo?
I don't know.
I don't know what that's referencing. Every once in a while, I see that. Maybe it's an emoji that's translating into. I don't know what. Maybe that's kind of like a dab or something. I don't know. Anyways, so Sean, that's funny.
It's good to see all the positivity for George. So good to start off on such a positive note.
Yes, absolutely. It's fantastic. So I think George says thanks a lot. And we've got Pierre who's connecting in, French in London. Excellent. And Kartik says it's an emoji. Yeah, now I see what it is. Dab emoji? Exactly. Okay. So it's so they anticipated or created it to be an elbow cough, but really it's more of a dab. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, this was kind of fun. So what we'll do now is I'm going to turn some time over to Chanel, and she can share a little bit about this blog post that she's put together, and maybe share a little story or something, and then we'll shift over to questions. So hold off on your questions for just a little bit more, and let's open the floor up to Chanel to talk about this recent blog post that she's written.
Yes, so the blog post should be up on the website today, and we will do another separate video talking about it in a bit more detail. But just to give everyone an idea of what to expect, so I've written a post about immigration and recruitment, and why you should be cautious about job offers. So coming over to Canada, obviously a lot of you will be trying to secure a job offer usually with an LMIA from the employer. That can give you extra points to help you with your express entry process, or coming over sponsored through the LMIA process. So when searching for those job offers, it's just really important to be cautious as to whether or not they are real and whether or not they're coming from a reliable source. There are agencies who operate and offer job offers for a fee, which actually is something that is not legal in Canada. So recruitment, a good recruitment agency will always be charging the client and will never charge the candidate. I know in some countries they can charge candidates, but in most of the countries I've worked, including Canada, it's illegal to do so. And any reputable agency won't look to charge a candidate. So the first red flag to look out for when you're looking for a job offer is if you're dealing with an immigration consultant or a recruitment consultant who are looking to charge you any money for the job offer, run. That is not legal, and that raises a lot of questions about the process that consultant will be putting you through, and their ability to process that, what they're guaranteeing. You can't guarantee anything. So it's very scary to see the number of agencies and immigration consultants offering these out there. I saw it first when I was looking to come over to Canada many years ago, and I was originally looking at the IEC program, the International Experience Canada program. And there are still, even yesterday, I saw in a Facebook group someone posting about these agencies who offer to do your immigration service plus get you a job. They guarantee you'll have a job when you arrive. And for a hefty fee, they'll charge between $2,000 and $4,000 for these programs, when actually the IEC visa it's very easy for you to get it yourself. It's I think $250 the fee. It's very cheap, and it's quite a simple process that you can be navigating yourself, as opposed to spending thousands of dollars on job offers. And most of the applicants who come through on that program are looking to go to the ski resorts and work in hospitality or service industry jobs, which actually there's an abundance of. You don't need to be paying someone to find those for you. You, within days of arriving, will likely find something suitable. So these agencies are very prominent, tapping into that market of candidates looking to come over and work here for a 2-year period, usually, do a couple of ski seasons. And they charge to basically pair you with an employer which you would have been able to do on your own. So it's just money they're taking for really not having to do all that much work. I know that most of the viewers of this probably aren't going through IEC, are going through Express Entry, but we've seen a rise in this issue with the Express Entry process as well. Given throughout COVID, people haven't been able to enter Canada. There have been different travel restrictions, and often the only reason you're able to cross the border is if you have a job offer. So that has also seen a spike in fake job offer letters, whether that's something you're paying for, or sometimes you might just be having a friend or a contact or someone writing you a fake letter, which is also not allowed, because that leads us to the bigger issue of misrepresentation. So, if you spend the money using a consultant who is going to give you a job offer, then that's something, a risk you take. That's money you spend unnecessarily. The risk is with the consultant and the fact that they're applying unethical and illegal practices. But if you're actually submitting a job offer that is not valid, that is not real, that actually there is no intention to work in this job, that's misrepresentation. And we all know the risks of that. We know from Mark and Alicia's video on misrepresentation a few weeks ago that can lead to a 5-year ban, and can really affect your applications for permanent residency and other applications for immigration to Canada long term. So that is my biggest concern when it comes to job offers, and why you should be very cautious. The blog post will go into a little bit more detail on that, as well as some tips and hints for if you are looking for a job in Canada, how best to do it, how to make sure you don't fall for one of these scams, and also a few hints from my own experience. I moved to Canada a few years ago, and when I came over without a job. I went through the Express Entry process, and I was planning to find employment once I arrived. From my own experience, I can say it can take a little bit longer than it might do in other countries. I've lived in a few places, and the Canadian employment it's a slow process, but you do get there. So my biggest tip for coming over without a job and looking to find one when you arrive is just come over with enough funds. You might need to be supporting yourself for 2-3 months at least before you find a job. And during that time, you need to set yourself up with expenses like housing, which can take more than you expect it to. Those upfront costs of setting yourself up in Canada can cost a fair bit. So just prepare, plan, and save in anticipation that you won't be working for a little while. You'll still have to front those upfront costs, and eventually you'll find the right job. You will have come over here, immigrated because you are a skilled worker. You have a skill set which is needed, and there are jobs for that. So rest assured you will find one, but just make sure you're prepared for the interim whilst you're going through that slightly lengthy job search until you find the ideal role.
You bet.
So,
thanks, Chanel.
No problem.
That was great. So we are, as I slide over here to the YouTube channel, so you can see this is our live that we've got going on right now. Make sure that you come over here and subscribe to the channel, and the videos, like the videos, because that allows them to get greater reach when it comes to others that might be interested in similar content. But if you, by subscribing, even the videos that you can see right here, you have the ability to log in. So tomorrow, and you can see what's coming up. So tomorrow, Alicia and I are going to be on her Q&A, and eventually Alicia will take over, but right now her software isn't such that she can do it. But probably in the new year, Alicia will reach a stage where she'll have her own Q&As. And then you don't want to miss, also in the afternoon tomorrow, Will Tao is joining me to talk about the Government of Canada's Chinook system. And it's a follow-up to one that we did previously. And when you go to playlists here and click on it and find the playlist for Immigration Nation, that's where you'll find these videos. But you can turn on a reminder. So I've turned one on here where it says set reminder. All you have to do is click, and then a reminder will be set so that you're notified when we go live. And sometimes things come up in the firm, and sometimes we intend to start right at 10, or we intend to start at a certain time, and some emergency comes up that we have to deal with a client. Maybe someone's trapped at the border, and I'm not able to get started right at the time frame that I want to. So make sure, and you will see popping up here the scheduled video that Chanel and I are going to do, talking about this whole seedy world of job offers. And there are some companies out there that do it right, that charge the employer, that legitimately recruit, and they're great companies. And there are others, but I've seen so much of representatives, illegal agents, immigration consultants who do recruiting on the side as well. And if they're doing and following the rules, I've got lawyers that do recruiting as well as the law practice, but they follow the rules. They're properly registered, they're bonded, and they do not charge you as a candidate for the job offer. But there is a whole seedy underworld of crooked employers who will take money from you to get a job offer, that are linked to you or connected to you through crooked consultants who are regulated consultants but abuse their position and take advantage of you. And that's the thing that that Chanel and I are going to talk about. So watch right here. You'll see this pop up when we've got it scheduled, which probably will be next week. And then turn the reminder on. But remember to subscribe to the channel. We're slowly growing. There's a constant flow of people in and out. But we're shooting for, I'd love to hit 40,000 by the end of December. We've got a lot of really good content coming up. But yeah, share it. And then, as Chanel indicated, the blog is going to be posted on our website. And all you have to do is go to holthelaw.com. And in the resource section here, we have our blogs, and you can click on here. And often the special themed videos we do on YouTube have a foundation in a blog post that was written. So you can see the misrepresentation one. There's a lot more detail, links where you can really dive into the topic yourself as well. And we cover a ton of different areas, not just Express Entry, but everything else. So make sure you head over there, check it out. And yeah, and let's go back to Chanel and I here. And so let's dive into a few more comments. So we've got Explore Canada. I'm trying to remember Adrian, I think is her name. She says, good morning from South Surrey, White Rock. Love your accent,
a lot of
Chanel.
comments on the accent.
Yeah. And then this is hilarious, George. All right, George. He's going to dominate our discussion today. He said, I just received the second email with the credentials. So awesome, George. I told you once the process starts, it'll go fast. And Chaitanya, who was another individual that we worked with, he waited a long time from that email that you received yesterday to getting this one today. It was like 14, 15 days. Why? We have no clue why it took that long. But I'm happy to see for you that things are moving really fast, George. And we'll invite you to come on and join me to talk about your journey, because people need to understand that you just have to be patient and just stick with it. And if you're in the pool, it's going to work out. Some people think that, oh, I haven't heard anything for 3, 4, 5 months. Are they just going to cancel my application? Well, there was one time when the government did go back and cull out and cancel a bunch of FSW applications when the queues were they were almost 600,000 people in this massive backlog. And they did do that. But in the world we're in now, with Express Entry, it's just not going to happen. They will get to you. Be patient. Hang in there. Okay. Kartik. Yes. I'm going to bring up Kartik's question here. He says, do something about VFS here in India. They've made it heck. They're outright selling biometric appointment and forcing for premium service. If you don't buy it, it's a 2-month wait, or else 5 days if you wait. Yes. I have already made IRCC aware of this. And I'm going to follow up with them again in my meetings, because this is disgraceful. And it's for this reason that companies, that are exploiting the system, this should never happen. Never. And so we'll definitely raise that, Kartik. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. So we'll hold off for just a little bit here. And let's see if there's anything else. We've got Janice, who's joining from Ontario. And we're not quite ready. Oh, I love this. They're notifying somebody else to watch the video. That's awesome. Anu's in Nigeria. And Reshmi, good to see you from India. Good to see you, Reshmi. Thanks for connecting in. And let me see, Reshmi, I think, are you in the current class, the current group? I think you are. I think Reshmi is one of the current students in the Express Entry course. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tonight at 5 p.m. We've got Isab is over in Mexico, and Yes, we've got a bunch of different things. Okay, so what we'll do is I'm gonna jump into yes. She says there are lawyers that are crooks as well, and they make mistakes too, Mark. Yes, but they are extremely, extremely rare. And the consultants love to point out that lawyers make mistakes, and absolutely they do. But the big, big difference, as we talked about, is that the lawyers who make the mistakes, they're held accountable by the law societies. They're disbarred. And there's a massive, massive weight of authority that exists with the law societies to protect the public that just simply doesn't exist within the immigration consultant ranks. And every organization has individuals that are not doing things properly. Absolutely. But the big difference right now between the lawyers and consultants is, well, one, the codes of conduct that exist and that are, when lawyers breach even the codes of conduct, there are huge, huge ramifications for them that just simply don't exist within the consultant ranks until hopefully now with the new regulator, but we will see. So absolutely. Okay. And let's see if we've got anything else here. Okay. So what we'll do now, I'm going to scroll to the bottom and of the chat, and now I will open it up for questions. So make sure you always put a Q in front of your question, and then that will tell me that it's something you want me to respond to, as opposed to something that is just you guys talking back and forth within the chat stream. So we'll start diving into the questions, and let's see here. Okay, so we'll start with Jeevan. Jeevan says, hey, Mark and Chanel, when will London Visa Office start processing FSW backlog? AOR September 2020. Okay, so with the overseas visa offices, I know that they are working through this. So it is slow, and we've talked about that. In a video that I did just a couple days ago that talked about Express Entry, what the future holds, we pulled up how many applications that are actually getting finalized through the FSW process. And I did a previous video about 3 weeks ago on the fact that we were now finally starting to see movement in India. I don't have any direct experience with anyone reporting from London at this time, Jeevan, but for India and the backlogs there, it was about a month ago. They were December of 2019. And one of the candidates was in the US, the dependent was in India, and it was December 2019. So I think for you, the backlog, it's going to be a few months yet before you start to see something, Jeevan. But they are processing like crazy, trying to get applicants landed and to meet the levels planning. And I think they're really close. They're really, really working hard. We're talking 35, 40,000 applications that they're finalizing each month. Now that's globally with all the different PR programs, but they're working at it, Jeevan. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Serge says, my CRS score is 484 and staying that way throughout 2022. Do I have a chance to be selected in FSW during 2022? Knowing cutoff scores will remain high. Thank you in advance. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Chanel, in terms of the high CRS scores and what potentially we might be able to expect next year.
Yeah, I think that the first couple of draws will be quite high because there's such a backlog of candidates in the pool now. But once the first few draws have taken place, the score should drop a little bit, and 484 is a very good score. I think you are quite likely to get drawn next year. I assume that your score might start to go down the following year. If you are approaching the age of 30, you might lose a few points. But even so, that's still a high score, and I would expect the points to drop within the next 12 months at the very least to that stage, and you should hopefully get drawn and get some good news.
Yeah.
I mean, I would even think in the first half of next year, you would be quite likely to be drawn.
Yeah. I think we all anticipate that Q1, the first quarter of next year, is when they're going to start doing no program specified draws. And if, we could go back, we're not going to spend a lot of time because I covered it in detail in the previous video. And I'll just flip over here and share my screen. I did one just here entitled, let's go back to the beginning screen here. So Express Entry Update 2022. Don't be deceived by the fact that it was 2 hours and 18 minutes. Yes, a live Q&A. That's exactly what I do. But at the beginning, I covered what to expect in 2022 in detail. So I'd encourage you guys to go over and watch that one, the beginning part, because, and I better get on the right one here, because that is where I was able to dive in a little bit deeper search. Okay, great question. All right. Okay, easy pencil. What's the approval visa ratio nowadays? That's too broad for us, my friend. There are statistics that you can get through the Open Government statistical site to see approval ratios and things like that. But that's not something we can answer because visas are everything. And I'm not quite sure which one you would be referring to. Okay. Ali says, with the new tier system, the work experience won't have to match education, right? Okay, so Ali, with this tier system that you've started to see people posting about, we still do not know exactly what it's going to look like. So at this stage, I'm going to completely refrain from talking about it. I don't think personally the knock code system is going to shift until closer to 2023. In fact, they've said the fall of 2022, which is usually code for, well, that's when we're shooting for, but they're always 2-3 months behind. So it wouldn't surprise me if we're over a year out from that. So at this stage, until I get concrete instead of just speculation, we're gonna avoid having any real discussions about it because I don't think it's really helpful until we reach that stage. You're still gonna try to get jobs. You're still gonna try to work. You're still gonna try to get that experience, and you're always wanting to find, the best job that you can regardless. So, yeah. So at this stage, the most important part is just to keep doing what you're doing and status quo. Okay, let's see here. Muhammad says, the UCI in my profile and my study permit application are different. I was under the impression that the UCI should be unique for each applicant. Do I need to inform IRCC? So with your profile, don't worry about it. When you're completing your application, it will ask you for your UCI. So the EAPR, when you're completing it and you're saying, have you applied before, there will be opportunities for you to include your UCI. And the one you're going to include is the one for your study permit so that everything stays together. Otherwise, each UCI is like a separate individual within the Express Entry system. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that your whole immigration history is attached to one. I remember working on the border before things were as sophisticated as they are now. We're talking back to 2002. And when people would come in, all we would have is maybe a driver's license from the US. They didn't even require a passport to come through the border. And people that traveled a lot, unless we as officers really found the right profile for the person using either their passport or whatever name and date of birth, there would often be duplicate records for one person. And it creates a little bit of a mess and a problem when you can't see the entire history of someone. So yes, Muhammad, you'll want to make sure when you get your ITA that the UCI you indicate is the UCI associated with your study permit so that everything can remain connected. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. And we're looking for the cues. Vedas is having lots of fun with your course, Mark. That's great. Thanks so much. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Jagnor says, I've applied in the tier to PR, a non-healthcare, July 8th. Put my CEC file in the pool in September. What do you think? From which program will I get good news first? I think Express Entry. When you look at how TR to PR pathways are processed, they can't just refuse your application if you're missing some small little thing. Yes, they have the ability, but it takes time for them to refuse. And it takes time for them to process when they have to go back and ask candidates for updated information. And so it drags the whole system down. But for Express Entry, it's not an issue. If they see something wrong with an application, they just return it and they're on to the next one. So the processing of Express Entry is a lot faster. And July to September difference, I'm back in Express Entry as being the one that will go through first. What are your thoughts, Chanel?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. It seems like that will be a little bit quicker, should take off hopefully first quarter next year. So the next couple of months, I'd have my fingers crossed.
All right. Okay, let's see. We've got a question here from from Gagan. He says, unfortunately, I've overstayed in the UK now. My wife is applying for Canada and I'm secondary applicant. Is there any adverse effect on our PR application? This is one where I ring the bell right here, Gagan, and I tell you to go over to our website and book a consultation. And the reason I say that, and all you have to do, let's see, I'll find the right page here, is click on Speak to a Lawyer. There's a link in the description where you can do this and book a consultation with one of us. Because the reason I say that is, let's find the right page here. The reason I say that is because there are a lot of different factors that come into play. An overstay with the UK visa, it may be okay, but you have to structure things correctly. You have to make sure that you address things correctly. And when it's done right in your application, then you significantly increase your chance that things will work out properly. And until we've had a chance to really talk to you about everything, I recommend that you book a consult. It's as simple as that. Okay, let's see who is next on our list. Just give me 1 second. I'll pull up another one. Okay, so this one is Kanav. He says, in my TR to PR process is stuck at review, ADR, and background check. In my CEC application, nothing came after biometric request. How much time more do I need to file bridging open work permit for both apps? Dependent applicant in India. So Kanav, the key for both is that you can only apply to bridge it within 4 months of the application, of your work permit actually expiring, right, Chanel? And maybe this is something that you can address too, because we've been dealing with this on a separate matter right now with a client who thought she was eligible for that special TR to PR pathway bridge, but she wasn't. And so what are your thoughts, Chanel, for Kanav here, who's trying to figure out, which he should use, or the timing of when he should think about filing that bridging open work permit? What are the factors that Kanav really should pay attention to?
I mean, you've got to pay attention to when your current work permit is coming to an end. Make sure you apply for the bridging within 4 months before that is due to expire. You can't apply any earlier than that. So I would be looking out for that 4-month mark and applying straight away to get that over the line. You don't want to leave it too last minute. You don't want to risk your being out of your visa. You don't want to risk being here without status. So I would really just map out the time frame and set a reminder for yourself to apply for that at the 4-month mark, so you've got enough time. And then if you have dependents, they can also look to apply for their visas from that as well. It's the work permit is very dependent on you actually having that bridging related to your TR to PR pathway application. So timing is everything.
Yes. And it's interesting, Kanav. So Kanav says that his dependent is in India. And so in that situation, well, it's very unlikely there will be options to bring your dependent sooner. But for you, do you go through the bridge with the TR to PR, that special bridge, or do you do the regular bridge through the CEC? Well, it's interesting because it really comes down to the strength of your application. And so are you really confident that you did everything right in your TR to PR pathway? Are you really confident that your express entry, if you've reached the stage where you've actually filed it, you've got an ITA and you've submitted your EAPR? The first thing I ask is, how confident are you? Because if you back one and you say, okay, I'm going to do the bridge with the TR to PR pathway, and then it gets returned or rejected, then that can cause your bridging open work permit to also not be approved. Same thing goes for express entry. So that's a factor. That's the biggest factor that I look at when I'm trying to decide which one that I do. But like Chanel said, you can't do anything until you're within 4 months of the expiry of your current work permit, if it's your post-grad, I suspect. And in our case, Chanel, maybe you can just share a little bit of insight. When this individual, our client, was actually the dependent of a post-grad work permit holder who was in the TR to PR pathway process. But maybe you can share a little insight on this, Chanel, because sometimes people just don't understand what's all involved in these partner or these spousal open work permits. So maybe you can share a little bit of insight with that situation.
Yeah, so the spousal open work permit is very much tied to the TR to PR primary applicant. So them having a work permit an open work permit, so bridging work permit through the TR to PR pathway. So that is what is required for any dependent to also get an open work permit. So in this case, the open work permit wasn't, the client wasn't eligible for it yet because the applicant for the TR to PR pathway was still on a previous work permit. They were not yet eligible to apply for their bridging work permit through TR to PR. So they're just going to have to wait until closer to the time, within 4 months, when the primary applicant applies for his, and then the dependent can also apply for hers.
Exactly. And it's interesting because, lots of people don't understand the distinction between the two bridging work permits. So for express entry, your spouse, the principal applicant, if you're a dependent, they have to be working in a skilled occupation. But when it comes to the bridging open work permit for an individual going through the TR to PR pathway, well, the program itself is designed for people with low wage, low skill. So they have to actually submit the bridge before the dependent can also go through that process with them. And it's always driven by the principal applicant. So you as a dependent can't preempt things while your partner or your spouse is still on their post-grad. And sometimes it happens that way, Chanel, where an accompanying dependent, their open work permit is tied to the expiry of the study permit that the principal applicant originally had. And sometimes that extends longer, well past when they actually apply for their postgrad. So then they're on two different tracks. And so then sometimes that spouse is then in a situation where their work permit's expiring before the postgrad work permit is expired of the principal spouse. So yeah, interesting. We see a lot of this, you guys. All the time we see these really unique situations. So, okay, let's see here. Mark says, do you think the processing of work permit applications via the GTS that have a positive LMIA from South Africa be stopped until South Africa is off the bad country list? It is entirely possible, Mark, that things are suspended. Often what we see is that when things go badly, officers come home. And processing times are affected, and absolutely when there isn't officers to put visas in passports, it most definitely can affect that, because if you can't travel and it's banned, then they're not going to process or issue visas that are just going to expire. So very, very likely that, with the Omicron virus, that that variant, that it's going to cause problems for anyone applying for any immigration application from those countries. And we saw it with the Delta variant for India. Okay, Mohammed says, what is the best time for a super visa? Well, I'm not quite sure. We need a whole lot more context to be able to answer that one, Mohammed. The reality is, depending upon if it's a super visa for a parent and grandparent, I always find it's better time to apply for that first versus pursuing a parent-grandparent PR process. So as far as the best time is, when usually before you consider PR options. Okay, and then Akram says, George is the man of the day. By the end of this live session, he'll receive his COPR. I'm happy for you. Well, that would be amazing. I don't quite think he'll receive his e-COPR back, in a couple of minutes, but they are getting better at it for sure. Okay, let's see here. We'll scroll down a little bit further. Okay, Mohammed also says, what is the super visa wait time? Well, it depends on the country. Anyone can find processing times on the IRCC website. So if we go here and we go IRCC processing times and we pull it up, you can actually look up, and it's a visitor visa. That's what it is. So when you go here and you select temporary visa, studying and work, and then you go here and you select visitor visa from outside Canada, and you can see super visas right here for parents and grandparents. So when you select that, it says, where do your parents live? See, so if we go India, we'll just go that because that's a lot of you. And we click on India, and then we search, it says 49 days. Now, when was it last updated? It says December the 7th, which was yesterday. So this is, you can use this as kind of a guide, but at the same time, remember that we still have this disclaimer that says, well, you can't guarantee 100% or trust what we're telling you. So that's how anyone who's asking about processing times, I keep doing this. I'm going to remove Mariana here. there, and then we'll get to the right one. That's something that you can look at. Oh, look at this, David. It's good to see you. Howdy from Montreal. So I want to share this with everybody. We'll give David a shout out. So David's an immigration lawyer in Montreal. And if we slide over here once again, and actually I'm going to just give me a second. I'm going to pull it up quick here so that you guys can see it. And then, okay, so David actually has a very prestigious honor here. So, well, maybe not too prestigious. But if we go here to the actual website and we scroll down, if we go all the way to the beginning of the Immigration Nation playlist, and you look at the first one that I did, look at who it was with. Monsieur David Chalk here, all about Quebec immigration and a little bit of misrepresentation. So you guys will have to go back and check that out. Shout out to David. Thanks for jumping in and saying hello. So therefore, you get a little shout out yourself. Awesome. Okay, let's see who else we've got here. Toyin, good to see you, Toyin. Over in Nigeria, stay safe. Saloni's in India. Okay, Hossam says, do you think 478 is a good score for FSW in 2022? Really worried. This one, people that are asking about, do you feel the scores are good? I'm going to really encourage you to go back here to this page. Let's go back to the main one. Let's see if I can go back to my channel here. Go back here and really, guys, do watch this video on what to expect for 2022, because that one right here is where I talk a lot about what I really think is going to happen, including what the future holds for FSW. And so I'd encourage you guys to watch that one. And because really it's much more thorough than, boy, I keep clicking the wrong button here. It's much more thorough than when we are trying to cover it in this, high volume question. So go check that out. The answer is maybe. The answer is maybe. Okay. All right. Saji, hello to you. Muhammad is from Pakistan. Good to see you. Let's see here. We'll keep zipping through. Just scrolling. We've got some duplication. And so I'm just trying to sift down through where we left off here. There's actually quite a bit of duplication here. Hang in there, guys. Okay, Feed Yoga. I love your handles, you guys. This is so awesome. Do you have any news about CEC? No, I don't. And I think at this stage, most of us are of the feeling that if they choose to go back to CEC only draws, that we're going to see that in quarter 1 of next year. Okay. All right. So Sager says, I have 2 jobs at the same time in year 2017 to 2018. My regular job is out of country in Maldives, and I also did a remote job in a different NOC. Now I want to show that remote work as primary NOC. Well, Sager, this is something that we cover in depth in the Express Entry course that we have going on right now. The reality is you can have more than one occupation that you're claiming work experience from. Under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the key is that you can demonstrate an ability to show 1 year at a minimum of continuous full-time skilled paid work in the same NOC. And with that 1 year, if that also is enough to give you the 67 points out of the 100 total points for the Federal Skilled Worker eligibility, then that's all you have to worry or stress about in terms of that one threshold to get into the pool. After that, when they're calculating the comprehensive ranking system score, the remaining 2 years that you would want to maximize your points under the CRS can be pulled from multiple occupations. In fact, it doesn't necessarily even have to be the same NOC if you've met the eligibility for the Federal Skilled Worker. And I do go through this in detail in the course. But in your case, as far as proving remote job in a different NOC, well, like I said, it all comes down to whether or not that remote, if you want to use it as primary, meets the threshold for 30 hours a week, continuous full paid work. And if it does that, then you can count other work from your regular job if you need to fully fill in the remaining 3 years. Because once you reach 3 years of foreign work experience, you're not getting any more points for foreign work experience within the comprehensive ranking system. Remember, it's a different discussion than eligibility under the FSW. All right. So there's a good question, Sager. Let's see here. Yeah, we definitely got a few duplications here. Here's another one, Lachlan, which really I direct you guys back once again to this video on Express Entry right here. This one is the video that you really should go back and watch just the beginning. No, you don't have to sit and watch 2 hours and 15 minutes of Q&As. But when you're going through that process, you'll get these answers. So clearing with 35,000 applications pending in Q1 of 22, is it possible? So I don't think they're going to get through all of them by then, is the short answer. It's going to take time, but hang in there, just like George, just like Chaitanya, just like everybody who's been in this limbo. If you're in, then consider yourself in really good shape compared to all the other FSWs that have never had an ITA and never had an opportunity to even get an EAPR submitted. So hang in there. And I'm thinking probably more closer to Q2, but who knows? Anything is possible. Okay. Keep zipping through here. Okay, here's an interesting one. I'm not sure, Chanel, if you can tackle this one. Can you arrive directly in Quebec if you get PR via Express Entry and FSW Outland? And the main issue here is that for Express Entry, Quebec doesn't participate with the federal Express Entry program, and in fact, the restrictions state that you must demonstrate an intention to live outside the province of Quebec. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that one, Chanel.
I would say that it's safest not to land in Quebec. You don't want to get caught up at the airport having to explain yourself and answer questions you might not have the answers to. I would recommend going directly to the province where you're planning to reside. It just would make the process at the airport a lot simpler. But I'm not sure, Mark, do you know if you would actually be turned around if you did land in Quebec?
Yeah. Well, they could, if they didn't believe that you were demonstrating an intention to reside outside. Let's say you had a ticket that arrived in Montreal and they ask, well, what's your address? Well, it's in Montreal, because they do ask for the address when you land. And if you indicated
need the address to be where in the province you've indicated you're looking to live. Yeah. But I know with COVID at the moment, travel is a little strange. I know people traveling to and from Canada, and a lot of flights are having to go through Montreal at the moment. Yep. However, if you're connecting, you land in Montreal, exactly. And you've got a connecting flight domestically to the province, such as Ontario. If you're coming to Toronto to live here, then that would be fine. And that's probably a situation a lot of people are going to find themselves in with the unusual flight schedules because of COVID.
That's exactly correct. It's a big difference between having a direct flight that has no connection and one that ultimately you're in the airport, Pierre Elliott Trudeau airport for just a connection, and then you're moving on to Toronto or to Regina or wherever you're headed. That's a whole different situation. So great. Okay, here is one that I'm not quite sure Gina understands fully what the question is. She's asking, can I apply a bridging open work permit and work permit extension at the same time? Well, the bridging open work permit is a work permit extension in a way. So I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, because they are kind of one and the same. And I don't know if there would be a situation where you would apply for two different types of work permit extensions. There's eventually you have to choose one, although you can hold multiple work permits. In this situation, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Maybe you have an employer specific one or something.
Maybe an employer specific one, or their own work permit plus have a dependent, or have someone who they're dependent on, who they're looking to potentially apply for an open work permit.
Yeah, that could be. And so the key, if it is that, and the other work permit is for an accompanying spouse, then if it's a traditional Bridging Open work permit, and you're going through whatever program you're applying for, your spouse, they're going to be looking to see that your spouse has, basically that you're working in an occupation that is skilled. And the same one, if you're on a postgrad work permit, I'm assuming that if that's the case, your spouse would have you would have already been working in a skilled occupation, so it's likely not an issue. But yeah, you can do both at the same time. And we recommend it so that everybody's permits are expiring at the same time, so that you don't run into that problem that our past viewer had mentioned. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so Snay says, I have one question: that anyone got PR under Stream B working at Tim Hortons or McDonald's as a cashier? And this is, Chanel, this is an interesting situation because if you're working at Tim Hortons at the front desk or McDonald's, you're not a cashier. You're a food counter attendant. And there's a specific knock code for that. A cashier is typically someone who is at the grocery store, Safeway, who's doing that. And within the context of the TR to PR pathway, food counter attendants were specifically excluded from the list of essential occupations. And they made a policy decision to do that. And so then what lots of people who were in those positions did, they applied for themselves as a cashier. And so I have not heard of anyone who's been able to go through and get approved as a cashier. Actually, there might have been someone I'd heard that had that possibility, but generally speaking, it's definitely not something that we have seen a lot of. And so, yeah, probably the answer would be a no, probably. Okay, let's see what else we have here. See if we're missing any. Okay, so Kanav says, how much time for getting background checks done? It's just stuck and not moving. Things were going good and then it's stuck. 2 years without the wife. Kanav, this is something that we see a lot of. And sometimes it requires a mandamus application to federal court, where you basically file federal court and say, hey, what's going on? There's no reason for this to be stuck. You can reach out and once again, Kanav, book a consultation with us and we can talk about that process. But yeah, lots of people on the spousal side, it's horrific to be separated from your spouse for such a long time, or even economics applicants that have spouses. So yeah, so we feel for you. All right. Well, Chanel, I think we're into overtime here. This has been a nice long one, and I think we're going to have to start wrapping things up. But remember, guys, that we've got another live Q&A tomorrow. We have, and then do not miss, as I slide over here, do not miss the one that I've got scheduled here with Will Tao, where we're going to talk about the Chinook system. And just to give you a little bit of an update, the Chinook system is how the government is processing by batch study permits and visitor visas and things like that. And it's quite, you guys will be very, very interested to know just how they're doing it. And us immigration lawyers, this is what we do. We challenge when we think that there is not a fair process, or procedural fairness is being affected, or that the decision maker is not making a correct decision based on the information that they're being provided. And so there's a court case that's going through where a lawyer is challenging with their client a refusal through the Chinook system, and immigration is just waiting to see if they're going to be able to get away with it, if they're going to be able to get away with using Chinook and the inherent biases and things that can exist within it. And so that's what we do as immigration lawyers. We challenge. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, if you guys can check that out, that's tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And then Alicia and I will be going live on another Q&A 11. So if you didn't get your questions answered today, you can slide over tomorrow. Watch out for Chanel's blog, and when we're going to do another live to talk about this whole seedy world of recruitment. So thanks so much, Chanel, for joining. It was great having you here with me. And as always, you guys, if you need anything, don't hesitate to just slide over to our website right here. And all you have to do is click on Speak to a Lawyer, and you can book a consult very easily with any of the lawyers within the firm. All right. Any last parting words, Chanel?
Just good luck to everyone and stay patient. I know what it can be like going through the wait. So just don't panic. If you feel confident you've done your application correctly, then it's just a waiting game now. So patience is key.
You bet. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you again soon.